typical. That's normal. Need the internet to speak.
Yeah.
I asked, not Sirius, Bixby on here, right? So I asked Bixby, I was doing just writing something the other day.
Glenn Power, by the way.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
who we're
hi.
talking to. Sundance Tires.
Hi.
we're more than just cars, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
It's the CarClinic, but it's everything on your mind clinic.
Yeah. Everything.
Anyway, so you were talking to Bixby in the car or just on the phone?
No, well, I actually caught it by accident when I was trying to unlock my phone to go on to Google to search.
Yes.
So I thought, okay. So I asked the question I was going to type into Google, and who writes whatever the algorithm is to decide what you've said?
Yeah.
Because I get adverts on all my websites based on other things I've searched on. It knows everything about me.
Yeah,
before I know sometimes.
It follows every move you make.
When we're looking at buying a new mattress for and we've bought one now for the cot for Alma, a little girl.
Yeah, for your baby. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I saw an advert for that a couple of weeks ago before I'd even.
Yeah.
And it seems, you know.
Well, so you're looking at children's stuff. You've looked this. It starts to figure out. Oh, hold on.
We hadn't at this point.
Oh, okay.
And it was like. Does it just know? Because
maybe it just knows.
Photographs on your Google Photos.
Yeah, well, for sure.
So everything's there, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I asked a question to Bixby, which was, to be honest, it was just an honest question about the where the ID Buzz, the Volkswagen van, where in California it was going to be out over the next few days. And Bixby came back with something and thought I'd said something about cat food. I've never searched for cat food. I've never asked Bixby about cat food. There's nothing on my phone that would ever tell me anything.
Do you own a cat?
Yeah. But Bixby doesn't know that. I was asking about an ID Buzz.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was frustrating, but technology tends to get the better of me when it...
Technology gets the better of all of us, and that's that's the world we live in.
Yeah, master and slave.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on in the world of auto repair these days for you guys? You're overseeing so many garages. It must do your head in with issues, stuff that's going on, things that are coming through. And you must have a great spreadsheet of potential timelines for repairs of different things like brakes and fan belts.
I mean, really in the deep end with this job, to be honest. Great challenge and enjoy it, and good bunch of guys around me. So it is a very worthwhile job. But typically across the 8 workshops we've got,
that's a lot of workshops to manage.
Yeah, well, right in the north in Ras Al Khaimah, right in the south in Musafa and Abu Dhabi, so we're everywhere in between. So it's difficult to get to them all. But typically, they're fast service and tyres.
Yeah. So when we say fast service, we're talking oil changes.
Yeah, something that's typically not going to keep you waiting for a part or off the road. But the Al-Qu's one, the flagship one, that's where we deal with everything. So we're doing engine changes or rebuilds or transmission repairs, that kind of thing. So that's where the meaty stuff comes to.
Okay.
But it's just it's the usual now. I had a bit of rain, so people actually realise, I do need wiper blades.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the craziest thing, right? And we're coming to you, by the way, from the Rove downtown in Dubai. That's where Podaholiks, which you're listening to, the CarClinic on Podaholiks. Yep. Glenn Power, James Pikeway, and the show carries on. Interlude, little advertisement there.
Why not?
But it's amazing because we live in a desert. Mm-hmm. People think, well, it doesn't rain that often. I don't really need to get new wipers. I replace my wiper blades every 3 months.
When you need them, right?
Well, and I find just driving on the road, I get salt from the beach, I get sand, I get stuff, and I guess you could be filling up your vehicle at the service station and getting them to clean the windscreen, but I don't typically do that. So I'm using, all the time, I'm using the wipers.
Yeah, it's funny all the time. You see it, a couple of days where it's rained really heavily, and people come in for wiper blades. Yeah. We had a lady come in, which was really refreshing actually. She came in and asked if we would clean her mirrors for her because she'd driven in the rain, car had got dirty, and then she was driving home, and then she couldn't see anything. Right. Okay. Because the mirrors were so dirty and it's still raining. So. And I thought that was quite good because some people just think, you know what, forget it. Out of a way to do the right thing, which is good. But yeah, wiper blades, you really need them.
Yeah.
You know, and, when it rains, especially here, because the day after the rain, when all the dust is stuck to it,
there you go.
Wipe that, and it's like, oh man, what a mess. While it's raining, it's not too bad.
I know we've talked about this before, and we can go back into CarClinic, I think number 2. We're at episode number 9 this time around. Nice. You obviously sell wiper blades. Manufacturer versus after sales part, you know, is there a big difference? I mean, I guess if I'm driving my Mercedes, they've got some very specific wiper blades.
Right now, yeah.
I'm driving a Wrangler. You know, do I need a Mopar wiper blade, or can I go with the Rain-X knockoff brand?
Well, you know, there is different levels of quality. We talked about it.
And that might be why I replace every 3 months, because I'm going for the 10 Durham quality or the 20 Durham quality versus the 100 Durham quality.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on like you say, it's that false economy. If the quality is better, and it's going to last 3 times longer, you're better off paying 3 times as much.
But this is where we get done in, though, because brake pads, belts, wiper blades, consumables, me as the consumer, and you meet me all the time, no, not physically me, but people like me, who are saying, man, you know, I've got a fixed income, my costs are going up, I need my ride, but I don't want to be forking out, you know, over the top. Where can I cut a little on my expenditure? And if I can do that with a cheaper part, which in the long run is going to cost me more, but in the short term, I'm going to save a little bit for dinner tonight. We go that way, and it's that false economy.
No, that's it. And look, the way I can illustrate it is, let's say, typically, a normal vehicle we see here, 6-cylinder, right, as an average, right? So we get a 6-cylinder engine in for a service in one of our workshops. The average price is going to be about, depending on the quality of oil, type of engine, blah, 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 cost of part, genuine, non-genuine, all that stuff. But you'd say an average of about 500 dirhams for a sort of intermediate service, bit of a check, oil and filter, that sort of stuff. A set of wiper blades, you can pay 300 dirhams.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Do you a service on your Range Rover, and it might charge you 600 dirhams for change the oil and the filter and an inspection and give you a report. If the wiper blades need doing and you say go ahead, they'll be 300, 350 dirhams if I buy them genuine. Yeah. And that's a big difference.
That is huge.
You know, when you and you know, I'd say a set of wiper blades, for the average set of wiper blades, you're going to be paying for a decent brand. You know, Bosch are the ones that we tend to have as the aftermarket. And Borgenbeck.
Right. Oh, I didn't realize. Do they do wiper blades as well?
We've got loads of.
Because I'm kind of sold over on the Borgenbeck stuff after having talked to Peter Eagle, which if you haven't heard that podcast, we need to I need to re-up that one. I need to do that one again.
Peter came to me. Obviously, the way we had to do it was a bulk order because it was coming out of the UK, so it was like an 8-week lead time. I was new to the company. We already had, as a company, an agreement with Bosch. And we were
which is a great name on its own.
And we continue to sell their parts. Some people, and we don't have Borgenbeck parts for all cars.
Right.
But for the transporters and other fleet vehicles that we look after, we have Borgenbeck wiper blades.
Okay.
So but even there, you're going to be paying, you're retailing them out at like 100 dirhams a set.
Okay.
So that can be 20-25% of what you've paid for a service, which. When you look at it like that, oh man, that's expensive.
It's a lot of money.
When you need it, when you need them to work, well, I couldn't have got to Dubai from Ras Al Khaimah the other morning without them working.
And the number of people I see driving with vehicles that have windscreen wiper blades that are streaking and you can't see the truck, you can't see the car, someone's coming from behind,
Yeah, you get dazzled by the lights on the other side.
Oh, that's even the worst at night. That's the worst.
So it sounds so...
It sounds trivial.
Yeah, trivial, and it's almost it's treated almost as a cosmetic. Yeah. But definitely, well worth keeping on top of your wiper blades.
Yeah, it's great message there. Like I said, I change mine every 3 months, pretty much whether I need to or not, because I just noticed the rubber's going a little bit or streaking a little bit, and
that streak or that.
And the sand, the sand really does wear away at it, and we forget that we're constantly getting hit by this fine sand. Yeah. So there we go. Hey, Wrangler went through another inspection, got the pass. So I was very excited about that.
When's the next one due?
A year.
Oh no, the other Wrangler.
6 months.
Okay. Didn't fancy you weren't brave enough to do them both at the same time.
Yeah, no, there are 6 months intervals, so I go every 6 months. But you know, and it's always pins and needles as the guys are putting it up, and and it shouldn't be, but you know, it's always the one that always gets me. So when we go through the registration process, if you're listening from outside of the UAE, every year we have to go to a registration or an inspection.
Yeah, in the UK we call it an MOT.
Okay, there we go. In Canada, I don't think we do those every year. I don't think almost never. I mean, when I was living in Canada, I wasn't getting the car inspected, but maybe it happens in another way. But my mother-in-law said the same thing. When she re-registers a car, she doesn't have to get it inspected, but she has new cars, so I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway, the test that always gets me a little bit concerned is the braking test. And you know, when they put it on the little roller and then the guy puts the brakes on and then I'm always a little worried. And this time, I don't know, I shouldn't have been worried. My brakes are new, but I was still worried.
Yeah. So all they're doing there is they're measuring the load effectively that the brakes are applying to the car. So they're sort of doing it in reverse. They've got the rollers moving the wheels. The car isn't moving under the engine power. And then they're applying the brakes and seeing how much it resists in terms of load of the rollers. Very clever, very simple. But it's basically these tests are there as a minimum level of maintenance to know that vehicles are kept to at least this level. Any vehicle on the road has been at least checked once in the last 12 months to this standard. And
which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Then of course they're walking around with the flashlight and they're doing all the regular tests. You know, what's the age of my tires? And I got to say, my tires are 2 years old right now. They didn't fail. There's no cracks. I mean, I looked at it as well. The road wear is okay, but I'm running off a pair of tires that, personally, I think at the end of the season, I'm going to replace them because they're good tires. They're still working, but you know, there was a few puddles. And as I was doing some cornering, I was slipping a little bit more than I wanted to slip. And I thought, okay, the tires are good, but you know, as much as I like them, I think I need a different set of tires on this vehicle. I
mean, the other thing is, it's not anyone listening from outside the region at least would think that us saying it gets down to 16, 17 Celsius is not cold, but it is. And our tyres are typically warm climate tyres.
Yeah.
So they're very, very firm rubber, so when it is cold, they're not as grippy as you'd like.
Well, and that could be it as well, because it was cool, the tires weren't as grippy. They work great when it's hot, when it's 40, they work wonderful, but in the cool, I kind of was going, I love my tires, and they're not the cheapest tires, they're not the most expensive tires, but I said, you know, I think this is a two-year line on these things. I need to get another pair, or another set, so I'll do that.
Yeah, well, come and see me.
I will.
We'll sort you out.
But it's you know, little things that, you know, and at least I know I want to do it, and like I said, the tires are good, so I can plan it into my budget.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best thing to do, really, because then you haven't really going to worry about, I took it in for service and now I've got 3,000 euros to spend.
Yeah.
So if we know, for instance, a vehicle came into us this week and we were doing 90,000 kilometre service, and we know that at 100,000 that vehicle needs its timing belt and water pump changing.
Right.
We'll tell the customer on the next service this is required as per manufacturer's recommendation. We've checked it now to make sure it's okay. It is okay or it isn't, and then this is the quotation for you going down the line. And then they can say, okay, it's going to take me 6 months to do 10,000 kilometres. I need to save 3,000 euros to get that job done. Yeah. It just makes it a lot easier for everybody.
Well, and the water pump means your radiator's got to come out, and I mean it's typically,
it can be, yeah.
At least on my vehicles, there's a whole bunch of stuff in front of that water pump.
Yeah, well, your engines are in line, so you've got to get access to it. It's at the front basically, so you take all the front off.
Every time I've had someone deal with anything close to the water pump, and you know, they've said, yeah, the water pump's okay. Well, it might, you know, and they give me, well, but you might need to get it. It's like, you know what? Just do it now, because I'm going to bring it back. And usually they put it all together, and then 2 weeks later, oh, I've got a water leak.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's nothing they did. It's just things get moved. And
you disturb something. Yeah. We had actually a friend of mine. It was a 996 911, and it was in for a couple of little issues. And in doing one of the jobs, we took the PCV, so the crankcase ventilation unit and the air oil separator off, put it on the bench. A couple of days later, we'd finished the work we were doing, parts had all arrived, put them on, fit everything back. Car goes out, road test fine, goes back out to go to the customer, and it smokes.
Oh,
smoking.
Oil smoke or the...
Oil smoke.
Oh, no.
And what had happened is, in disturbing where we'd been in, we'd taken the air oil separator and PCV unit out, and it had obviously just stuck the valve open. In being idle at some point on a bench, maybe it was upside down or on its side or wherever it was. And we got to replace it now. So, you know, again, same job, big load of work to do on anything on one of those engines, and that's just like you say, you get in there, you disturb things, and consequentially you've got, from one thing to change, you've got 3 or 4.
It is.
He's a reasonable guy. He's a reasonable guy, and he understood the situation, and it's been sorted, and he's paid, and he's happy, and his car's back as it should be, and it was obviously getting to the stage anyway. There's no way it can go from 0 to 100 in terms of wear just by us taking it off. So he's probably going to notice an increase in power when he drives it. He's going to be happy, and less fuel. You know, it's going to be a noticeable improvement for him. But not everybody's that reasonable.
No, I'm sure.
You know,
you broke it. You fix it.
Exactly. And what would we have done? What could I have said? It didn't smoke when it came in, and it left smoking. So.
You know, in one sense, that's the unenviable part of your job. The enviable part, I always like to think, is you get to test drive and drive around in some pretty great cars, or as I like to think about it, you get to do some shopping by having a drive in some people's vehicles, as you do in the going in to figure out what the problem is, and then making sure the problem's been fixed when you drive the car out to do the test drives. So you get to do some car shopping.
Yeah, pretty much.
And kind of figure out which vehicles you want to own, and which vehicles they're really nice, but you know, having worked on it and having had a ride in it is like, rental.
I mean, the one thing this job does do is it makes sure there's only a very, very small group of vehicles that you would think, you know what, if I don't want to have any issues, they're the vehicles I'm going to own. But the problem is, unless you're buying brand new, you don't know how they've been treated.
Well, and that's the other side, right?
So, you know, and look, it's the way vehicles are made now, they're pretty much uniform in terms of how they're made. Certain materials are different, and certain manufacturers have different ways of doing the designs and stuff like that. But the reason there's so many established European brands having their vehicles and models copied by the Chinese manufacturers is because manufacturing processes and techniques are pretty much the same.
And they're running them like the Volvos. The Geelys are running off a Volvo frame.
Yeah, exactly. So you buy the engines and you share chassis.
And the newest Geely looks pretty darn good. The one there's an SUV coming out that looks nicer than the Volvo. I mean, the Volvo, no one at Volvo is going to be happy to hear that, but it's a pretty sweet looking vehicle.
It's the good thing about road testing the cars, right? So, as you know, like my background was Volkswagen. So when I came out,
do you feel you're a little more partial to Volkswagens? Yeah. Okay.
I've got no shame in saying I'm biased.
Yeah.
No shame whatsoever, and cars should be like that. They are affected. There's no reason you couldn't look at a car and say it's a work of art. It's been designed by a team sometimes by an individual at concept stage, and then there's engineers and whole thousands, millions of dollars thrown at it to get it to the production line. It's a piece of art, and they should be subjective, right? It's a matter of taste with cars, and I just like them. They invoke something in me, and I went to work for them for that reason. So.
That's even better. You love the Volkswagen, went to work for them, and now you get to play around with lots of cars. But the Volkswagen comes in, the heart flutters a little bit.
Well, I remember coming here and I went to work for a company called AAA, and they were known and still are known as a Land Rover specialist. And I mean, I can tell you from my time with them that we were seeing cars 2 or 3 years old as they finished their warranty. We were seeing those cars come in, and I can say that they were 7 or 8 years behind tech-wise. I was seeing stuff on a top-of-the-line Range Rover, which I'd already dealt with on a 2006 model Golf.
So Volkswagen was just bing.
And that happens with a lot of the German manufacturers. They're so far ahead with technology. They do really chuck it out there early. But it opened my eyes to it. But I was always, these are rubbish. These are rubbish. These are no good. You know, they're no good. But I tell you, there's not many vehicles that I've seen that haven't had a problem. Of course, they come to me normally to be fixed. But the ones that come to us for maintenance after they've been fixed or whatever it is, there's not many cars that you drive and think, definitely wouldn't own this. There are a few. Yeah. Some Jaguars just physically can't fit in them. Right. So I would not own them, right? Yeah. And my friend's got a couple of old XKs and I can't drive the cars because my knees will break the key off in the ignition lock. So these are just things that...
For me, it's the Jaguars that look like the old Ford Tauruses. There was an era of those. I don't remember if those were the E-type or K-type. There was S-type. X-type. Or X-type. But it was really rounded. And they didn't make those for very long. Like those were a very affordable Jag. And it reminded me of a Taurus. And every time I saw it, and I'm talking a Taurus
they were Ford anyway, right?
So, and not that I don't like Ford products, because I do. Yeah. But at that point, might as well own a Taurus.
But you want something different when you're on a Jaguar, right? That's what I'm saying. But I've driven every car I've driven, I've probably driven a bad example and a good example now.
Well, which is a good thing. Yeah. I mean, it at least allows you to say, well, hey, this one, you know, not so fond of it because of, and headroom and knee room
it's a big issue for me.
It's huge for many, many people.
Freakish when it comes to size and height. But obviously, as a technician, you appreciate the other aspects of the car. I mean, the newer Jaguar XK.
It's beautiful.
When you get the 5 litre supercharged, there's very, very few cars for that price that you get that amount of power. They drive great. They
repair-wise, does it hold up, or does it need a little bit more tender love and care?
The thing with the Jaguar, Jaguar kind of lost its reputation as being a luxury car, right? Especially here. Yeah. It's because they do diesel versions in Europe, and they're not synonymous with just being sports cars anymore. People and obviously the time with Ford gave them more mass market.
Because I used to always think of Jaguar as a luxury saloon car.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm still in my head, so when someone says, oh, you're going to go in that F-Pace, it's like, honestly, it doesn't really turn my crank.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like the idea of the Jag as the sporty car, because I go back at the E-Type.
The coupes and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like...
With the big long nose out of it.
And the new XK, with that 5 litre engine in it, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I know, it's like... But I can't drive one. Right. Because I can't fit in it, right? But I can appreciate the rest of the car, and it is nice to be exposed to all these different kind of vehicles. I mean, I'd take a position with Volkswagen back again tomorrow. Sorry, boss. But, everyone's got everyone's got things that
Well, you're really lucky too, because you do a lot of work with the We Will Fix It fleet, right?
Yeah,
it's all Volkswagen. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I remember when we used to get those T5s in that they run. We used to get T4s and T5s, any of the commercial vehicles that came in our workshop, which wasn't too many because we have, and Volkswagen here as well, have their own commercial vehicle department. Right, yeah. But when we got the odd one or two in, as technicians we'd fight over them. It's like, no, I want to work on the van because there's no frills on the van. There's no fiddly trims or covers to do. Yeah. Everything's there where it needs to be.
It's beautiful.
And the diesel ones in the UK were fantastic. Yeah. They used to do just so much power in them. Yeah. But
I'm always surprised we don't see more of those kind of panel vans being converted here into, well, more for passenger vans. And they do have a passenger van version of it, but people aren't buying them. Because we've been lulled into this, we need an SUV. Yeah. Because you're going to go off-road. It's like, 90% of the population never goes off-road. Well, maybe that little spot, a little patch of sand that's going to get them to spinnies from the main road. But I mean, I go on a sandy route where buses go now. Yeah. So it's like, the Wrangler. Oh, I'm going to get up there on the curb of that thing because I'm going to get some life out of this. But the bus is going through too.
Yeah, no, I agree on the van stuff.
I grew up with vans back home in Canada. I mean, our family was a van family, but we're talking Chevy vans, but it was still a van. Yeah, yeah. And I loved the van.
Yeah. I do agree with that, and me and the wife have had the conversation where, if and when we go back to the UK, we would probably just decide comfortable, works right for the family, so, practical, we'd just have a van.
So you know the vehicle that when I think of vans, and I think of the van hybrid, and you know there's some great Honda products and stuff like that, but I still love the Ford Flex. It's not a van, but it's not a car. It is a van on a car chassis.
I remember the first time I saw that and I was like, why is there a hearse? We do see a few. They are quite popular, aren't they? Here?
Yeah.
Flex. They're not as common with us in the workshop as even I probably see as many Astros.
Oh really?
As those, but yeah, they are good. It's just the practicality that I like with the van.
Yeah.
If somebody, again, it's the bias thing, but if somebody says van or bus to me, it's always going to be a camper.
Keep talking. We're talking. I need to get a battery charger for this computer. So just keep talking. It's like my luck. Just keep talking. We're talking vans and stuff.
I always think of a Volkswagen van, just because, you know, and I obviously going by my youthful skin, I wasn't around in the 60s. To be there for the hippie movement with when it really took off. But even those 60s split screens and then, you know, right the way through, I've always liked them. I don't know what it is. It's one of those things you can't really put your finger on, but like I say, it's subjective. People like what they like.
I think it was a sad day when they stopped making the transporters, the old school ones. And they were making them in Brazil, I believe, or in Mexico.
Into the 21st century.
Yeah. And then it was just the crash safety. And we were in Huntington Beach, California, and someone is renting them out as, they've got camper ones, and they rent them out as VRBOs.
Yeah, there's a company in Scotland and the UK that they've put, because the engines are pretty much the same on the old Porsches. So they put Porsche engines in the back of them.
Nice.
You can go and hire them and go and drive around the locks and through the glens and camp in them.
I think they're great.
Yeah, they're great. I mean,
I just think the whole van culture, the fact that you could have one that could be equipped to head out camping, and you could use it as a, you know, in the layovers to traveling and end up somewhere, and you could use it as an everyday. I just think they're all in one vehicles.
Nissan have just done it's basically like a sort of an exhibition of what they can do with their vans, their commercial vans, and they turned it into a woodworking shop.
Nice. Well, so my thing is, I always say, and I say this to my son who's into music, I want a van that we can convert into a recording studio, so that we could sit like this, we could sit somewhere, if something's going on in a venue, we could run some cabling out, we could have some, you know, a desk set up in there, editing software, all there, and just run it all out of a van.
Yeah.
And he hasn't bought into it yet, but I'm thinking, I just can't figure out why he hasn't bought into it. Like,
no, it's cool. Like anything, you can do anything with a van.
Yeah.
Anything, and it's great. And like I say, when we go back to the UK, probably not here. And the reason not here is the vans that I like here are purely the commercial ones.
Right.
And they don't necessarily come with the engine transmission combination I'd like, and you know. So
I'm getting tempted to head over to Colin and Dan next time they're out shopping, or next time they've got one that's getting close to its dead period, to say, you know, let's fire it over my way.
They've always got them to sell. The only problem
unload one to me so I can deck it out inside and make it into the James van.
So that's what I mean. So the problem is here, you can buy, in that instance, the T5 and the T6 that they have now, you can't take on as a personal car. It's commercial. You have to have a commercial license.
Oh, that's a problem.
You can take the Caravels and the Californias, as you call them, in North America, and the multivans as they are here. You can take those, but they're all V6 with an auto, and and they come with rows of seats, which I don't want. I'd rather have a box and then do what I want with it. So
it's a problem. It's a real problem.
One of the guys I work with in the UK, he bought a long wheelbase T4.
There you go.
And he toured the whole of Europe pretty much for about 2 years in it.
There you go.
Living on bagels and you know, whatever you could
barbecue out the back and stop anywhere.
Had a shower in there, bed, everything was in there. It's great.
It's the way to do it. Okay. Well, that's coming. Question about brakes. I know we've talked about these before. How often do brakes typically need to be changed? Now, this is, I mean, what kind of car, what kind of driver, what kind of, I mean, but is there a standard sort of number that we look at and say, yeah, you know, you should be looking at every 20,000 kilometers, you might need to have your brakes.
No, it's almost impossible.
Really?
There's some vehicles with some drivers, and you combine the two, and you might end up with 10,000 kilometers, and you've got the warning light back on again. There's some people and some cars, and you combine those, and they might do 60 or 70,000. Pete was talking about the stuff,
the Borg and Beck stuff.
Yeah, the stuff that they've done with the research into the taxis, because they're going to supply their. They designed a special friction material for this market. One thing that you have to take into account here is the majority of the cars we have here are automatic.
Right.
So the brakes are under a lot more stress. If you're in a manual, when you take the foot off the accelerator, the engine's braking itself. Yeah. But in an auto, it isn't, because it's almost shifted to neutral with no resistance, and it's just coasting. So all the work of stopping the car is on the brakes. Whereas on a manual, you can go down the gears, and you don't have to necessarily press the brake at all. So it really does depend. What we do say, and what we can say, is that what we need to do with brakes is get them inspected at least once every 6 months. Okay. So that you can make sure that there's nothing untoward there. You can make sure that you keep the caliper and any moving parts clean, lubricated if necessary. And then one aspect of the brakes that we can say for sure we need to change after a certain amount of time is the brake fluid. We should change that once a year, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if I've had my brake fluid changed. I don't know.
Probably not. I mean, I know. It's one of those things where you rely on the service.
I don't know if that's.
Sam and Ray's, they've been here long enough to know. Yeah. And they've probably, you've probably done a service with them. It's been a major service, and they've done it.
They you know what they probably do, and it's probably one of the consumables on there, because whenever I see those consumable lists, I kind of go. Yeah. It's how much is it going to cost? Oh yeah, don't forget there's some labor in there, and there's like it's always. So what's the end cost that you're figuring this is going to be? Yeah, can you give me the final bill price?
No, it's definitely do it once a year, brake fluid. And
that's good sense. I mean, just because it gets corrupted and other stuff like that.
It gets such a hard life here. It deals with so much more heat than it ever would in a climate that doesn't get as hot as ours. I mean, in the summer, it's never below 45 degrees when it's, and then when you're running the brakes and stopping, and it's getting really, really hot. The carbon that builds up in it as it takes dirt off the inside of the lines, and the moisture that gets in there just because of the construction of rubber and stuff like that, that gets into components now, and all vehicles have ABS now. Yeah. And those it'd be great to have one to show, but you open them up and they're tiny, tiny valves and galleries in there. They get blocked very easily, and once you got one of those blocked, you're talking 4,000 or 5,000 dirhams to get it repaired. Wow. So
so better to change those fluids frequently.
150, 200 dirhams, get it changed once a year, and you'll probably find you'll never have an issue.
There you go. That's good advice. Yeah. And if you're
the ABS on a car, it probably when we did the training on it, I remember doing the more in-depth training after the apprenticeship with Volkswagen, and the guys there saying at Volkswagen that on average ABS will be used once per person per ownership of a vehicle. Yeah. Because if you need it, it's an emergency situation.
Well, and this is the thing. I think everyone's pretty much got ABS on a vehicle now, and they think, oh, I've got ABS. But you're just using regular braking 99.9% of the time, and you really notice the ABS kick in. And I had one, about a month ago on Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Road, and someone stopped right in front of me, and it's like, okay, I'm looking side by side. There's nowhere I can get to. I just hammered down on the brakes, ABS kicked in, and you could hear it because it was...
Feel it through the pedals.
Yeah, it was...
hard and pumping,
and it's doing its job. And the car stopped, like, boom, instantly. And I was like, woohoo, ABS is working.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with ABS, you don't hopefully ever need it. Yeah. But when it doesn't work, the car is no longer as safe as it was. Right. Now, ABS extends the braking distance. It's one thing people need to realise.
Well, yeah.
So it doesn't mean you can sit on somebody's tailgate because you've got ABS and you're going to be able to stop it.
There was a little bit of room between us, but we were close enough.
Yeah, exactly. It means, but if you don't have it, you're going to get a warning light on there.
With ABS, your wheels will not. So if you've ever driven a vehicle that doesn't have ABS, you hammer down on the brakes right to the metal, to the floorboard, and if you don't have ABS, your wheels will lock up and you will slide.
Straight away, yeah.
ABS, you're never going to lock up.
Yeah, as at the point of the wheel stopping, and it detects this with the speed sensor, and then the rotation of the wheel that measures, at the point of it getting to zero, it releases the brake. And that's what that pulsating is through the pedal, and why the pedal goes hard, because the the actual pump in the ABS unit is then distributing the fluid rather than you pressing the pedal.
Right.
So very, very clever system, been around for probably 30 years, I would think, in mass market, and probably longer than that.
I think one of the first manufacturers that I remember using it and really talked about was Subaru. And you know, 4-wheel drive and the ABS braking, they were talking about that in Canada years ago, and they were very, very proud of all of it. So
no, it's a very, very clever system to have designed. It's spawned all sorts of other things, so traction control, and you know, car journalists don't like traction control. Car journalists don't like these things.
I kind of like traction control. You know, I think it just has a good purpose.
I like traction control because most of the cars I drive aren't my cars.
Yeah.
So it saves me having to worry about, you know, it's a bit wet on the road and I'm in a Mustang and I've got to get out of a junction or do a U-turn. I'm not going to be starting the road doing donut. Yeah. And traction control does that. And most of the time now, some of the older cars.
How does it work? How does traction control work?
Pretty much the reverse of ABS. So when it detects a wheel slipping, it applies the brake or reduces the power to it. So if you've got electronic differentials and stuff, you can reduce the power to the wheel, but what it typically tends to do is reduces what you're doing with the throttle, so it doesn't actually do anything when you press the pedal, and it also brakes that wheel so that it doesn't slip as you turn.
Yeah, nice. Smart.
Stop you skidding on it. And it doesn't work just from a standing start, so if you're driving and you start to skid, it'll kick in, and it's very, very good. And the thing with, and the reason motor journalists don't like it is when they're taking the latest Aston Martin down the track, or a Corvette or whatever it is, they can't, even with the button, switch them off 100%.
Yeah.
The cars don't want you to kill yourself.
Yeah.
So we're not quite at the Terminator level yet with machines taking
over.
Well,
and the average person, these things become very useful. So when I was talking that I think I might need to get another set of tires at the end of the season, and when I was going around the roundabout where I was starting to slip, the traction control came on, saved me. Yeah. And I was kind of going, great, but I just don't want to have to use the traction control, so maybe I need to check my tires.
Manufacturers used to be really proud of it. So you get like, especially in the UK where it's icy, in Canada you'd have the same, so it's icy in the winter. Start the car, you get the bing, because it's less than 4 degrees, so it tells you it's going to potentially be icy. And then
I've never seen that. Is that new on cars? I've never seen that before.
All the old stuff we used to get. But, so you get in there, you don't see it here. But then, so you get in the car, that's the first thing, and then you'd set off, and typically, especially in the diesel cars, because they're so torquey, the wheels would slip. The Volkswagens with the front engine, front wheel drive as well, so the wheels would slip, and the light would flash as the traction control was kicking in. And they always said that was to alert the driver so they knew what was happening. Why, when they press the pedal, it's not moving potentially as quick as they thought it would. Right. I just think it was because they were proud of it.
Maybe, why not? You know,
the reason I think that, is because in modern cars, it doesn't happen all the time. So I felt it even on some of the sort of even on stuff that I wouldn't say I'm particularly clued in on. So some of the sort of muscle car stuff that I just see for general work. I wouldn't, you know. I don't do too much reading up on it because it's not something that interests me. Even those, when you give those a drive and you go out driving those, and you'll say we've got one for a vibration at a certain speed, and you'll accelerate to get to that speed, and you can, as a driver, you can feel the car going, and then you feel it all of a sudden stop, and the throttle pedal doesn't work as well, and the brakes are a bit less sharp. That's traction control doing that, but the lights aren't flashing. Yeah. So it happens now.
What is all that noise? Is that coming from outside, or is that coming from our devices? It's
not me.
I'm hoping it's not me. I'm wondering if it's. I'm silent too. I think. Yeah, I'm silent. So it could be. It could be that Microsoft computer over there, the Asus. I don't know.
It would back up. Yeah.
Something's making noise.
But something's happened.
We're having a meltdown on our podcasting recording this week. I have no idea. It's just all. It's all doing it itself.
Turn this off now. We just mentioned machines taking over, and now we're getting this.
Oh man, but yeah, there we go. We had another question about aftermarket seat belts.
Okay.
Do they sell them aftermarket? And so my question to this person asking the question was, why are you asking this question? And simply, they wanted to get seat belts that looked nicer.
Okay.
And my answer was, I'll ask Glenn.
Modern cars, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I know they do for sort of, again.
I guess if you're getting a Rolls Royce, you But although maybe not, because I've been in those cars, and the seatbelts look pretty much like every seatbelt looks.
You get in a Rolls Royce, that seatbelt's the same as any BMW seatbelt.
Well, then that was the one thing I noticed when I was in a Rolls and I was in a Bentley, and I just thought, you know, the clasp mechanism where you click it in, much like on aircraft that have never changed, it looks just like every car. It's probably made by the same guy who makes everything.
Well, Rolls Royce built by BMW.
There we go. Yeah. So
Bentley built by Volkswagen Group. And
so
seatbelts. Look, seatbelts. I suppose there should be no compromise on the seatbelt as long as it's safe.
Yeah.
It's going to save your life potentially. You can get aftermarket ones for some of the classic cars. Some classic cars, you know, I've fitted seatbelts to cars that didn't have them.
All right.
But when it comes to the modern ones, most of them are pre-tension with pyrotechnics, so they've got an airbag effectively that will pull the belt onto you.
So we've with our own vehicles, years ago we were looking at changing the seatbelt. In fact, I thought my seatbelts were defective, and it turns out it's just the way they actually work. But in the back seat specifically, on my Wrangler, when we put on the seatbelts, and if you go forward, it then needs to recoil. It does not, it's not, it doesn't, so the front seat releases, the back seat doesn't. And I thought it was just my vehicle. So we actually went to the Jeep showroom and I said, I'm gonna get in the back of some more of these Jeeps and I just wanna see. Turns out, no, it's the way the mechanism works. It's annoying too.
I remember taking a vehicle over to the RTA and it was, it failed the test. So the customer brought it to me and he'd failed his test. And it was an old Cadillac, and they failed the test because the seatbelts didn't lock. So they'd open the door and they'd pull the seatbelt, and it wouldn't lock. And I was like, none of them do. You don't, and I had to go and explain to him. They worked on inertia, so they worked only when the car moved.
Right.
So the car was moving, and then you pull it, then it would lock. Wasn't electronic; it was just inertia, just separate inertia. But when it's sat standstill, there's nothing, the weight effectively is in the middle and you pull it and it doesn't lock.
Okay.
But as the car's moving and the weight slides to the back, then it allows it to lock. Oh man.
What is going on here?
We've been on the Ouija board.
Is that coming from us or is that coming from somewhere else?
There's a building site outside, could be anywhere.
Yeah. It's like, how would we be getting feedback in here? I don't know.
But no, seatbelts aftermarket, not unless it's if you've got pre-tensioners on there, which are electronically controlled, then definitely no.
Okay. Aftermarket backup cameras, and it's funny because I was talking to someone who's driving a new Fortuner, but it doesn't have backup cameras, and they were I said, you know, are you going to keep this car? I think it's a lease, and are you going to get another one? They said, well, you know what? I want a sunroof and I want backup cameras. And I thought, okay, that's
first world problems.
That's what I said. I said, but how's the car?
We hired a Fortuner once. Pretty recently. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. So, and great off-road.
The problem is that this awful like bronze interior.
There you go.
I was like, what is this?
Well, so it just got me thinking. Again, my vehicle's old school. The backup camera is arm on the outside and looking over. I do like having backup cameras and the 360 view cameras when I'm getting into a really tight parking spot because it really has saved my life many times. But it's not necessary.
No.
But I did start wondering, are these things easy to come by, easy to install, or is it a nightmare?
So obviously you're going to have to get a screen of some description to fit. There's some that you can put that go over the rear view mirror.
I've seen some of those.
Some of the Ford as a standard, it's just a standard mirror and then half of the screen turns into the screen. They're quite cool because that means you're still checking the mirror and your head's up rather than down looking at a screen. But aftermarket ones are quite easy to come by, very easy to fit.
All right.
Very, very easy to fit as long as there's the head unit or the screen that you can then plug it in. You pretty much just a power, a ground, and then the actual cable, the data cable that will take the video.
So easy.
So very easy. See sometimes where you get the wires the wrong way round or they'll be upside down and the image is the reverse or whatever it is. Yeah. But easy to fix once you've done a couple, and people get used to having them, don't they?
Well, this is the problem. I think we're getting now to the era where all of these bells and whistles are the expectation bells and whistles. The sensors and this and that, and I sometimes get in and get in the parking spot and I've judged it and it's like, oh, I got another 2 feet here.
Yeah.
I better use them.
Yeah, the 361, the overhead.
I love that. I love that view. I don't know how that works, but
the BMW and
I love those
the
sensors.
Volkswagen Group are brilliant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. In fact, I probably, until I was in an A8 the other day, which had it, and it was great. But until I got in that, I think the BMW one was street set.
Really?
But they're just cameras under the mirrors, so that, and the wide angle, so they look down. But because it has the image of the vehicle on the top, it looks like you're looking above. That's great.
I think it's a great feature, and you know, next time I buy a new car, if ever, I'm going to want that feature on there. I mean, my vehicles are 10 years old. I'm in the next generation of technology in my vehicles, and I sometimes get envy when you buy a new car. It's going to be
you're just going to be in it for like 3 days. Your wife's going to be coming out and giving you food because you're going to be, what does this button do? What does this button do?
Look at this.
Yeah. Don't get a Porsche, man. You've seen the buttons in those things.
Oh, you know what I saw actually yesterday? Guy beeped the horn for me. Either I was straying into his lane, or he just was beeping because we're both driving yellow vehicles. First of all, I'd never buy a yellow Porsche Boxster. I mean, I was in the yellow Jeep. He's in the Boxster.
He was definitely
yellow. Did not work on that Boxster. And it was a pretty new Boxster, but I just I was looking at it, and I like Porsche Boxsters, but yellow, they don't work. It just doesn't, and it just didn't sound good.
It's like, you know,
it just doesn't work in yellow.
Porsche should be red or black or white, I think.
Yeah.
Anything other than that, I don't think it's you know, there's certain colours you associate with certain brands. Ferrari should always be red.
There you go.
Lamborghini should be yellow, orange, green. They should just be something.
You're hearing it here from Glenn Power, Sundance Tires.
But you know, you just associate certain things. Yeah. So if it's a Golf GTI, you think it's going to be red.
Yeah. Well, this is the best time of year right here in the Emirates. And I see all these convertibles with the roof up. I cannot figure it out. It's like, why own a convertible if this is the time of year when you're going to drive it? And what are you doing? You got the roof up and you got the AC on. Like, maybe they're trying to save fuel. Maybe they only use it on Jumeirah Beach Road to cruise. And
maybe.
But
because it's too hot for the rest of the year, the roof doesn't work.
That was the other side. Possibly the roof is.
So this is going to be the thing. We're going to have this conversation. We're going to start the pod every week of anything regular in the shop. And in a couple of months' time, when it gets really hot, it's going to be my roof won't close.
Yeah.
And we're going to get that. Because it happens, you know.
Well, and you know, this is the thing. I had Volkswagen Cabriolet, manual roofs, and to this day, I still love the manual roof because it's not as funky and it doesn't have the bells and whistles, but you pull over, roof up. You get out, clip, roof down. As soon as I have 3 or 4 motors, or the one motor is in some of these vehicles putting up and down my roof, I get really nervous.
Those motors are working using signals from sensors. There's hydraulic lines. There's a lot of stuff to go wrong.
It's when you hear the motor going. And it's like, oh no!
Pull it the last few inches.
Come on, close, please close.
No, what happens here? It's too hot half the year, so everyone keeps them closed, and then it's perfect the other half, so everyone keeps them open. There's not like
there's no in between.
Where we're from, if we've got a convertible that's got an automatic roof, you've got to open it for 5 minutes and then have to close it again. Certainly in the UK.
I see a lot of folks in Montreal in the summer who've got the doors off and everything off the Wranglers, and I'm going, really? Like, it rains. What do you do? You've driven to work with no cover and now it's pouring rain. What do you leave the vehicle at work? I just don't get it. I don't even take the doors off mine here.
You wouldn't do that in the UK.
I cover mine here. Even when I have the roof off, I've got a cover in the parking lot. Just to keep dust out of it.
Cats out of it.
Cats too.
Cats.
Speaking of, and I know Colin listens to the show, and I know he's quite the cat lover, and I'm pretty much assured Catboy also listens to this. So I don't want to offend either of those guys, but there was a cat outside my place last night, just making noise.
What is that all about?
I don't know, but I have the squirt gun that fires 100 meters. It works on compression, like you pump it up. And then you don't even pump it up. It's just you pull it out and then you just squeeze the. And so I wasn't aiming at the cats because that would be mean, but I was in the direction of those cats, and they stopped.
Aiming for the noise.
They stopped and then started again. I just went out with it. They're smart. They say they don't want to go anywhere near water, and they just see the stream of water, and it works for birds too. You know those doves that go whoo whoo. Not the pigeons, but you know the doves. Those birds are smart. Because the first time I had to fire some water to get them to disperse, they were shocked. Now when I walk out with that squirt gun, they see me and they disperse. I don't even have to load up. It's like, boom.
So what happens when they're that smart? They're then going to be like, hang on a minute, it doesn't actually fire that.
Then, I did get one day. No, it got a little wet, and it did mess up its flying for about a second. And I think it spread the word, that guy's nuts. Don't go near that guy.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah, but anyway.
The best thing to do with birds and cats is just put food on the neighbour's garden.
Well, that's exactly. Leave the food over in someone else's house. I noticed that the other morning. I come out and there's birds eating food. I'm going, who's feeding these things? Clearly, whoever's house they were on is feeding them.
Yeah, they've sent it to you.
Yeah, and they're over throwing it up on my roof. It's like, there you go, pike away.
Yeah, there you go.
Glenn, I think we're going to wrap things.
Yeah.
Once again,
Cool.
Sandance Tires is where we can find Glenn. What's the web address? www.sandancetires.com. There we go. And that's tires, T-Y-R-E-S.
I don't know what this question means because there's only one way to spell tires. So I'm not sure.
I was thinking in case any North Americans.
Oh, right. You need to click on the bottom where it says English US and change it to English UK. Yeah, no, it is. It's spelled the English way, T-Y-R-E-S.
We come to you from the Rove Hotel downtown in Dubai. Podaholiks is where you can find us across all the internet sources where you get your downloads. iTunes. My mother-in-law is on iTunes with us right now, so that's really cool. And one of the other nice things is because we do distribute via Anchor FM, we're in CarPlay and the Apple system of podcasts as well.
So that's nice and easy.
So if you're in your car, just say Podaholiks and you'll come up where it's with a K. And podaholiks@gmail.com if you want to fire us an email. And of course, go to Instagram and Twitter, Podaholiks, get in touch and keep up to date with us.
Yeah.
Glenn, a pleasure as always. We'll do it again real soon.
Nice one.
Thank you. So long for now.